Beautiful. It was at a garden party on a Sunday afternoon, early in our first month in Saigon. The party was in the elegant courtyard of a villa not far from the basilica. A lovely street lined with tamarind trees. We'd only been there a few minutes ourselves when I turned to see a young family paused at the entrance. Posed, as if for a pretty picture, beneath the swag of scarlet bougainvillea. Baby boy in the arms of the slim mother, daughter at her side, tall father in a pale suit, another engineer, I learned later. It was much later, still decades later, that I suddenly wondered, laughing to think about it, why so many engineers were needed. I was 23 then, with a bachelor's from Marymount. For a year before my marriage, I taught kindergarten at a parish school in Harlem, but my real vocation in those days, my aspiration, was to be a helpmeet for my husband. That was the word I used. It was, in fact, the word my own father had used, taking both my gloved hands in his as we waited for the wedding guests to file into our church in Yonkers. This was in the bride's waiting room, a small chamber well off the vestibule. I recall a tiny stained glass window, a kneeling bench for last-minute prayer, I suppose, a box of tissues for last-minute tears on a shelf under an ornate mirror, and the 2 brocade chairs where we sat. The cool odor of old stone and the fresh flowers in my bouquet. My father took both my hands and held them together on the wide tulle skirt of my wedding dress, which, even in the dim light of the tiny room, was winking with seed pearls. He said, "Be a helpmeet to your husband. Be the jewel in his crown." I said, "I will." The little girl who posed so prettily with her parents and her baby brother was you. She was about 7 or 8, in her Sunday best like the rest of us, a crisp yellow dress, nearly gold, with pleats at the bodice, scalloped collar and sleeves. She held a Barbie doll in the crook of her arm like a scepter. It must have been the first Barbie doll I'd ever seen. After the family was introduced, my husband knew the husband, had already met the wife as well. I leaned down to ask her about the doll, as you do with children. To tell the truth, I was happy to give her my attention, pretending to be a kindly adult. I hadn't yet lost the shyness that plagued me then. I had only managed to put it aside, to steady my hands before I extended them, and to breathe deeply before I spoke. I wanted to be a helpmeet to my husband. And these gatherings, cocktail parties and garden parties and dinners with embassy people and military people and corporate people and advisors of all kinds were, as my husband put it, how things got done in Saigon. The little girl spoke softly, with the manners. She said, "Yes, ma'am," that were taken for granted in children in those days. Seen, but not heard. Nearly whispering, she touched the doll's little shoes, open-toed high heels, and the pretty floral dress she wore, explaining that the doll arrived wearing only a bathing suit, but that any number of outfits could be purchased. Cocktail dresses, uniforms, nurse or stewardess, even a wedding gown that cost, and here she grew breathless with the astonishment of it, $5. From the small purse on her arm, she withdrew a tiny booklet illustrated with all the outfits the doll might wear. 2 men had joined the adult conversation that was just above our heads, blocking me, or so I saw it, from their circle. I didn't want to straighten up and turn away from the child. She was so earnest. Nor did I want to linger on the periphery of these grown-ups, waiting to be invited back in. So I took the little girl aside a bit, to a wicker settee just beyond the trellis of flowers. Together we turned the pages of the catalog, and she told me which outfits she already owned and which she was asking for. Many of these she had already marked with a careful X. There was an aunt in New York City, she explained, a businesswoman who was the regular source for these gifts, who, in fact...